The coach stood at his press conference after the Belgium draw and said something with a quiet fury that no formal statement could match. Right now, we need recovery more than anything. The conditions have been extremely hard for us. Amir Galanoy, speaking through an interpreter after a 0-0 draw with the 10th-ranked team in the world, after his team had made a charter flight from Tijuana, cleared security and immigration checks that turned a 127-mile journey into a 5-hour ordeal, arrived with less than 24 hours before kickoff, played 90 minutes of football at the highest level on earth, and then been required to fly straight back to Mexico before midnight. And then something happened that no one predicted, something that almost never happens when a football team pushes back against a governing body in the middle of a World Cup. The rules changed. Not for everyone, for Iran specifically. A documented, confirmed change to the travel restrictions that had governed Iran's entire tournament experience. Before their final group match against Egypt in Seattle on the 26th of June, Iran would be permitted to arrive 2 days before the match instead of 1. The extra day, the extra night of sleep, the extra hours of recovery on the ground that their coach had been asking for across 2 matches and dozens of press conference answers delivered through translators in locker rooms in Los Angeles. Iran complained. FIFA and the relevant authorities listened, and the rules moved. This is the story of how one football team, facing conditions unlike anything a World Cup squad has ever faced, refused to stay quiet and changed what was possible. Stay with us, because the full account of what Iran has been living through at this tournament and what their persistence just achieved is one of the most extraordinary stories that 2026 World Cup has produced. To understand the significance of what changed, you have to understand precisely what Iran's travel situation has looked like across the group stage. Every other team at this World Cup has a base camp, a hotel, a training ground, a fixed location that becomes home for 6 weeks. They travel to their match venue on match eve, 1 day before kickoff, as FIFA regulations require. They sleep in the host country. They wake up on match day rested, acclimatized, and prepared. They play, and if they win or draw, they stay for a day or 2 before moving to the next destination. This is the rhythm every professional football preparation is built around. Iran's rhythm has been completely different. Their base camp is in Tijuana, Mexico, not because they chose it, but because their original training base in Tucson, Arizona was unavailable to them. Their charter flight from Tijuana to Los Angeles for their first match covered 127 miles, a journey that should take a little over 2 hours, including airport procedures. Captain Mehdi Taremi said it took 5 hours. 5 hours counting security checks and immigration processing for a squad trying to preserve energy before a World Cup match. They played New Zealand. They drew 2-2. They boarded another flight. They went back to Tijuana. A week later, they made the same journey for the Belgian match, this time with a noon kickoff, one of the most physically demanding time slots in football. They arrived with less than 24 hours on American soil before the first whistle. Coach Galanoy said after the game that they had essentially arrived and played. No real rest period, no meaningful acclimatization, no margin for the kind of preparation that elite international football demands. And yet, they held Belgium scoreless for 90 minutes. They had a goal disallowed by VAR. They earned a red card in their favor. They drew. They performed magnificently under conditions that their coach described with precise and measured anger as extremely hard. If you are following the full story of this World Cup, subscribe now and hit the bell, because what Iran did next is where the story becomes genuinely remarkable. Iran's Football Federation complained, not quietly, not through back-channel communications that never reached the press. They lodged a formal complaint with FIFA over their travel restrictions. They demanded the right to arrive in Los Angeles 2 days before the Belgium match. That request was denied, but the complaint was received.
and in the days that followed the Belgium draw, something began to move. NBC News reported the change first, confirmed by the Associated Press, verified by FIFA and the relevant host country authorities. Iran would be permitted to arrive in Seattle 2 days before their final group match against Egypt on the 26th of June. Not 1 day, 2 days, the extra time their coach had been asking for all tournament. The official explanation was careful in its framing. The White House FIFA Task Force Executive Director Andrew Giuliani confirmed the decision, but was clear about the reasoning from the host country's perspective. "This was planned on our end," he told the Associated Press. "We were going to look at how the first 2 movements went, and if they went smoothly, we would extend the extra day in light of the longer travel time." Planned on our end. A statement that presents the change as a pre-scheduled adjustment rather than a response to Iran's complaints. The diplomatic framing of an accommodation that was, by any reading, a direct response to what Galaneoi had been saying publicly for days. The football significance is real and immediate. Seattle is further from Tijuana than Los Angeles. The journey is longer, the logistics more complex, and the physical cost of arriving with less than 24 hours preparation greater than it was for the California matches. The extra day matters enormously for a squad that has been managing fatigue, travel stress, and match preparation simultaneously across a group stage unlike any other team at this tournament. Iran need a win against Egypt to advance to the round of 32. Group G has been one of the most compressed and unpredictable in the tournament. 3 matches played, no team with more than 4 points, everything still unresolved going into the final match day. Belgium topped the group with 4 points. Iran and Egypt are both on 2 points. New Zealand are last but not yet eliminated. The mathematics are tight enough that a single goal difference could separate qualification from elimination. For Iran, that context means the extra day in Seattle is not simply a comfort, it is a competitive advantage that their coach fought for and their federation formally demanded, and they got it. The broader pattern of Iran's engagement with FIFA throughout this tournament is worth understanding in full, because what happened with the travel restriction is part of a longer story of a federation that chose not to accept what was handed to them. They complained about having their ticket allocation revoked. They made a formal request to move their matches to Mexico. They filed a complaint about the travel restrictions ahead of Belgium. They went public through their coach at press conference after press conference with the reality of what they were experiencing. They put the conditions on record, in translated quotes, in front of the international media every time they got the chance. And now, for their 3rd match, something changed. Not everything, not the underlying complexity of their situation at this tournament, but something concrete. Something that will affect the preparation of their players and the condition of their squad on the day they need their best performance. It is also worth noting what happened to Egypt when they tried a similar approach. After their 3-1 victory against New Zealand in Vancouver on the 22nd of June, Egypt asked FIFA for permission to fly directly to Seattle rather than returning to their base camp in Spokane. A reasonable request. Spokane is a 45-minute flight from Seattle, so bypassing it would save time and energy for a team that had just played a match and needed to prepare for the next one.
FIFA denied the request, citing a lack of security resources to accommodate the last-minute demand. Egypt returned to Spokane. The contrast between the 2 outcomes is striking. Iran, which had been lodging formal complaints for more than a week through official channels, received an accommodation. Egypt, which made a single informal request after a match, did not. The lesson, if there is one, is that formal, persistent, documented complaint, submitted through proper channels, put on the public record, and repeated at every available opportunity, carries more weight than a request made in the moment. Galenoi's press conferences were not theatrical, they were methodical. He said the same things in the same measured way with the same factual precision every time a microphone was put in front of him.
The conditions have been extremely hard. We arrived with less than 24 hours. We need recovery. The complaint was filed. He said all of it consistently, publicly, and on the record. And then the rule changed. There is something in that outcome that goes beyond one team's travel schedule at one World Cup. It is a demonstration that football institutions, however large and however resistant to criticism they may appear, can be moved by organized, persistent, properly channeled complaint. Not always, not on every issue, and not as quickly or as completely as the people complaining might need, but sometimes, for this team, on this specific issue, it moved. Iran's players wore gold pins reading 168 to their first match. They left a handwritten note in the Los Angeles locker room. "We came with pride, competed with honor, leave with dignity." Their goalkeeper promised to keep the goal sealed as the Strait of Hormuz. Their coach said history and future generations would remember this squad. And now, heading into their most important match of the tournament, the one that determines whether they go home or go further, they will arrive in Seattle with 2 days to prepare instead of 1. They pushed. The World Cup moved. Egypt are waiting on the 26th of June. Group G is wide open. Alireza Beranvand is in goal. Mehdi Taremi is fit and sharp after the Belgium draw. And Iran's coach has the preparation time he asked for in the city where the match will be played, having demonstrated something that this tournament will not forget. If you have a legitimate complaint, make it formal, make it public, make it consistent, and do not stop until something changes. Iran did not stop, and something changed.